Okay, welcome everybody. So I'm going to start seated today. We'll do a little bit of grounding and then we'll start doing some work from seated eventually. So feel free to join me there, or if you'd prefer to be laying down or in some other shape, that's totally welcome too. I also have my dowel on my mat. We may do a little bit of work with the dowel. It could also be a strap or a TheraBand or just anything you can kind of pull on. A scarf would work too. So go ahead and grab that prop if you need to. Don't worry too much if you don't have one. We'll work with what we've got. So I'm just coming into a seat on a little bit of support so that I can sit up a little bit taller and get a nice natural curve in my lower back. And I've got my legs crossed, but of course you could be seated on a block, on your heels, or whatever works for you. And again, lying down is also more than welcome. And then start to settle into it. So depending on how you're feeling today, that might include some fidgeting and some movement, even some stretching. You might be feeling like you can start from stillness. And just start to tap into your breath. Just notice what it feels like to breathe. If it feels good to deepen your breath or sigh. Or if it feels good to just let your breath be kind of even. Just taking a few moments to kind of bring yourself and all of your pieces into your practice. Beginning to acknowledge the earth beneath your body, the land that you are on right now, and your relationship with that land. And that can include your relationship with the season, the phases of the moon, the weather today. I'll just mention that we're leaning up in towards a full moon. So we'll have a full moon on Saturday, just a couple days from now. So just noticing that that might be affecting you in some ways as well. Those of you that kind of track that, if you have a relationship with that. You may want to take a moment just to check in with your relationship with yourself, with your body today as well. This practice is called Feel Good Yoga, and that concept of feeling good can be kind of complicated. And one of the things that I've been working with for myself lately is just asking myself the question specifically around food, but it can also be around other things that are happening with my body. Is this loving? Right? So just practicing being in a loving relationship with my body, whatever is going on, especially when we're dealing with things like illnesses, and I've had some stuff going on lately. And so I'm just working on being in a really present and loving relationship with my body and just asking that question, is this loving? And so as we move through our practice today, if it resonates for you, it might be interesting to check in with that question from time to time and see how your relationship with your body is playing out in your yoga practice. You may have other intentions, other things you want to keep in mind. That's perfect too. So when you feel ready, let's start to invite a little bit more of a rhythmic breath. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ujjayi, but Ujjayi is sort of the frame for it. Just a nice long, even inhale through the nose, long, even exhale through the nose. There's a bit of a lengthening quality on the inhale and sort of a drawing in, connecting quality on the exhale. And just notice what that's feeling like for you today. With Ujjayi, we have a little whispering sound at the back of the throat that may or may not be a part of your practice. And my invitation for you here is just to see what kind of movements come up with that breath. So an example could be rocking back and forth like a seated cat and cow. Another example might be reaching your arms up to the sky on the inhale, bringing them down on the exhale. So I'm just going to give you the space to explore that for yourself. And if you're not quite sure what to do, you can just move your arms with me, inhaling up and exhaling down. And again, just feel free to experiment, to explore. You can do all of this with your eyes closed. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Any movements that feel kind of natural or intuitive or good, just let them come in. There's no judgment here. Seeing how your breath and your body want to be in relationship with each other. And I'm just moving into a little seated cat and cow here. And again, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, you do you. But just as another example of a way to move, you could be rocking back and forth or making circles. I find this can be a really nice way of just kind of exploring what in my body wants attention today, what's feeling a little sticky, what's feeling spacious. So we'll take maybe 4 more breaths. We're all kind of going at a different pace, so no rush. If you're doing something asymmetrical, just doing your best to make it symmetrical. Awesome. So we're going to be working from seated when you're ready. So especially if you're not currently seated, you may want to join us here. And if you have been seated, you may want to just release your legs for a moment, give them a little shake. And when you come to seated, maybe change how you're sitting. So for example, I always want to have my right leg in front when I'm seated. So I'm just going to put my left one in front. And then okay, can you hear me now? Okay, we'll use computer mic for now. I think those are maybe just getting more vibration. Okay, let's do one more. Reaching the arms up. And down. Okay, leave the fingertips on the ground beside you. Take one arm up and over, just taking a nice open side stretch. And you can kind of press your fingertips or palm down into the mat, sit bones into the mat, slightly turning open to the side. And then on an exhale, gently coming down to your center and over to the other side. So just reaching up and over. Sit bones grounded, gently pressing your hand into the earth. I've got my palm down now. Could be fingertips are fine. I'm just turning the chest a little bit up. And then gently releasing back through center. Hands on your lap. Let's take some circles for the shoulders. And then grab your dowel or strap or scarf or whatever you have. If you don't have one, just pretend, but it is nice to have a little bit of feedback. We're going to do a little shoulder core. This exercise is really nice for supporting the shoulders, getting those little muscles going. So you've got your prop in at about forehead level, palms face in towards you, elbows underneath the wrist. We're pulling the prop apart, but at the same time hugging the elbows in and keeping the shoulders down the back. So you keep that tension on the prop, and then as you inhale, you lift up, and as you exhale, you come down. So I call this shoulder core because just like a lot of abdominal work, it's kind of trying to get those deep inner muscles activating in order to support the health and wellness of the whole structure. And I find this one is, it's a lot more challenging than it looks. It always makes me sweat a little. Let's try for 3 more if you can. If it's becoming too much, take a break, that's okay. Again, we're all going at different paces. This is my last one here. Whew, nice. And then you can place your prop down on your lap or your side. Just release your hands and kind of notice how your shoulders feel. I often feel that they just naturally drift back after I do that exercise. And then you can take your prop around behind you and hold on to it with the palms facing forward. And I've just got them about shoulder distance apart here. You could play with that. It doesn't really matter too much how far apart the hands are. And then gently pull the prop apart, allow your chest to open and press your hands down and a little bit away. I often like to kind of press the prop onto the cushion I'm sitting on. And then that little hug there helps me bend my elbows and just lift my chest a little bit more. Maybe lifting the chin. And gently release. Let's leave the prop around behind us for now. You can just place the hands on your lap and take a moment to receive that. Let's take the arms up into a cactus shape. Press the elbows open a little bit, and then come into eagle arms. I'll mirror you here, so right arm under. You can hold opposite shoulders. You could do a little shoulder stretch like this, or if you can, wrapping the hands, wrists, whatever's accessible. Drawing the shoulders down, elbows up a little bit, hands may press slightly away from the face, and then lengthen the back of your neck. So tuck your chin in a little bit. And then bring your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Come up through center and over to the other side with your head, keeping your arms in the same position. Just softening through the sides of the neck. Move back up through center. Gently unwind the hands, let them fall slowly to your lap. Pause. And then you can take your hands behind you, interlace them, or grab your prop again, and take that nice opening to the chest. I feel like I want to do a lot of this lately. Just opening the chest and collarbones. And then gently release. Reach your arms up to the sky. Take that cactus shape, and we'll do that on the second side. So wrapping your left arm under your right one. Twist tie, hold opposite shoulders. You can also do kind of this shape if that works better for you. Shoulders down, back of the neck long, elbows can lift a little bit. And then bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. Try to keep the shoulders nice and heavy and the neck just relatively relaxed. Up through center and over to the second side, right ear to shoulder. Gently back through center, unwind the arms. Let them fall gently into your lap for a moment. And if it's been feeling good, go ahead and reach behind you, interlacing fingers, or grab that prop. And take that nice chest opening one more time. Good. And then we can gently release that, hands to the left once again, and take a few circles. Okay, let's release the legs out in front of us. You can stay sitting on your little prop if you've got one there. So, you know what I'm going to do is turn to the side because twist and mirroring sometimes gets a little confusing. So I'll do the same side as you. Okay. So legs are up in front of you. Go ahead and bend your right leg. You can keep it here a little bit wide. That's fine, especially if you're pregnant or if you're just feeling better with an open twist. You're going to turn this way. Okay. If you can be a little bit more compressed, you can take your right leg over top of your left, and you might bring the bottom one in as well. So you're in this kind of pretzel-y position. You can interlace your fingers around the knee and just pull your heart up a little bit, getting nice and tall. And then if you're okay to twist to the right, your right hand comes behind you. I usually like to just hook my arm around the leg. Occasionally I'll take the elbow to the opposite side, but I actually find that just holding the knee there feels better for me. So feel free to see what works for you. Getting again nice and tall, just pressing lightly into your right fingertips and gently spiraling to the back. Okay, you can stay right here or just gently draw the shoulders down and see what it feels like for you to bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Sometimes there's kind of a nice neck stretch that you can add here. And then gently return to center. Release the legs, you can give them a little shake, and then we'll take that on the second side. So left knee can bend, you can keep it open here if you need more of an open twist, turning to the right, or take the leg across, optionally bring the bottom knee in, or foot in, I guess is a better way of saying that. You hold on to the knee, hug in, get nice and tall. Maybe you're wrapping your right elbow around, or you could hook it if that works for you. I like the resistance, I guess, in that place. Shoulders down, lifting the heart, gently twisting. And then you may try bringing the left ear down to the left shoulder. Bring your head up through center, gently return to center, release your legs. Give a little shake. Okay, and then just briefly, we'll take the soles of the feet together so the knees go nice and wide. And we're just not going to bring the heels in too close to the spine. This is it's a hip opening forward fold, but I actually want to add the neck a little bit. So rather than trying to fold to your max from your hips, just keep it a little bit softer, a little bit higher up, and let your head come forward. As long as this all feels safe. And depending on how flexible you are, you may come forward a little bit. And then just allowing the head to hang and rock very gently from side to side. You can keep moving like that, or maybe you want to come through center for a few breaths. And then gently roll yourself up. Take a moment with that. If you have any fidgeting you want to do or stretching, feel free. Otherwise, just sort of receive it. Nice. Okay. So I'm just going to move up on my mat a little bit. So we're going to come up a little closer to the top of the mat so that there's some mat behind us. And I want to work through a little bit of core. We're gonna start seated. This doesn't work for everyone. I've just been experimenting with the boats a little bit lately. I find that they have some benefits, so some ways I don't like them. We'll just check it out, and if at any point it's not working for you, causing back pain or hip pain, just lay down on your back and be there, okay? So I've got my feet on the ground. And I'm going to work with them together. They could be hips distance apart as well. There may also be some benefit in taking a block in between the knees and just giving it a squeeze. That'll help to keep the transverse abdominis going. So if you have a block and you want to try that, go for it. Just hands on the knees for now. Sitting up nice and tall, but then scooping the belly in and up. And it's okay for your back to be kind of long here. I don't want it to be hunched, but you're not trying to overly arch or anything. Okay, so there's that scooping in and up. And then just leaning back a little bit until you feel some resistance and work into the core. I'm just experimenting with keeping the feet down for now. Hands on the knees or arms forward. You could experiment with lowering down a little bit further and just see where is that place where you really feel that the core is activated without you punching your teeth, right? Keeping it gentle. And then rise up and just relax for a moment. You can take the butterfly shape or windshield wiper. Okay, we'll build on that. So I'm going to leave the block to the side so that your legs are free, but you can squeeze the knees together or have legs hips distance is fine. Just thinking of that hugging in, drawing belly in, leaning back a little bit. Just till you feel that bit of work happening. Arms might come forward. Inhale, and as you exhale, you could slide your right leg forward and then pull it up. And then left side. Pull it up, and you could do this whole thing laying down if this isn't working for you up here, okay? Just moving side to side a few times. If you want to make it harder, you're leaning back a little bit farther, but please don't go to a place where you're feeling any pain in your lower back or your hip flexors. Sitting upright, it's a little more challenging on the hip flexors. I'm just going to do one more round each side. My feet are really nice and active, which helps with the core as well. And then relax. So you can do windshield wipers, or you can do a little kind of cat and cow with your soles of the feet together. And we will stretch out the hip flexors after this. Okay. Let's try one more. And again, if this is just not working for you in this seat, go ahead and lay down on your back. Okay. So for this one, I recommend the block because it'll give you something just to squeeze into. If that's working for you, give it a try. Okay. So that same feeling of kind of scooping in and up, sitting nice and tall, leaning back a little bit. You may or may not release your hands. Squeeze that block. Feet are just going to be grounded here. Inhale, and as you exhale, just lean back a little. And then come up. Down. And exhale, lean back. So we're just kind of dipping in and out of that more intense place. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed. It helps me to keep my fingers kind of soft. So this is definitely a different variation on a sort of a crunch or a sit-up. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely feeling it. Let's try for 3 more if you can. And if at any point you're like, nah, I'm good. That's totally fine. Trust yourself. We're just kind of trying to go to that place where there's a bit of fatigue, but we don't need to go past it. This one. Whew. Plenty for me. So let's lay back. You can hug your knees in, you can rock a little bit from side to side. And you may, with me, want to do some circles with the knees. So I'm just holding a knee in each hand. I'm going to circle them apart and back together again. So I just want to ease up on the hips a little bit. Again, sometimes the seated core is a bit more intense on the hip flexors. That's not a bad thing. It's just that many of us already have tension in our hip flexors. So we want to make sure that we're releasing that too. I'm just reversing the direction of the circle. And then rest. You could do that with your knees in, your feet on the floor. I'm going to take that butterfly shape myself. Just taking a few moments to receive that work, just kind of noticing what you feel in the hip flexor and abdominal area. let's release it. So you can take that same block you were using, or any low prop would work, bolster would work too. And you're just going to place it underneath your bum, so right at the back of the pelvis there. And then just take a moment with that. Even this will release the hip flexors a little bit. There shouldn't be any pain in the back. You can do this with no prop, so feel free to come back down to the ground if there's any pain. Okay. So if this is working for you, gently straighten out your right leg, hug your left knee in towards your chest, flex the foot, both feet really, and hug your knee a little wide to the side. Breathing down into your hip flexor. Think about the right leg not lifting, but straightening. And then gently release one foot to the floor, then the other, pause. And then straighten out that left leg, bring the right knee in, come to the second side. I love this one, as many of you guys know. It's so nice for releasing the hip flexors, which again, it is a bit of a stress muscle. Sometimes this stretch can help us to also release stress. Soothing for the nervous system. When you're ready, gently release one foot and then the other. Take a moment just to feel that. Okay, you can stay right here or try straightening both legs. Reach your arms up over your head, hold opposite elbows, and take a nice full body stretch. Flexing the feet and turning them slightly in towards each other sometimes helps. And then gently release that. Bending the knees again, pausing here. When and if you feel ready, just removing that prop so that you can rest laying on your back and take a few moments to receive that. Some of you might want to hug the knees in or straighten the legs out. That's perfect. You can also keep them bent, just giving your body a moment to receive that work. Beautiful. Okay, from here, let's send our legs up to the sky. So you can take your arms up too, and just give your ankles and your wrists a nice little circle. And then reverse the direction of the circle. And then place your feet on the mat. Let's thread the needle. So I've got my left ankle here across my right thigh, holding on to the back of the right thigh and gently hugging the legs in. I like to have both feet flexed just to help protect the knees and kind of keep that neural connection there. Stillness is great here. Sometimes I quite like rocking gently from side to side. It can sort of give you different information or different areas of the stretch for your hips. Feel free to stay if this is working for you, or cross your legs. Allow the knees to bend so the heels kind of drop away from each other, and then hug in that structure. So this is sometimes called supine Gomukhasana, cow face pose. It's a little bit of a different hip opening, so check it out, see if it works for you. And then gently release that, sending the legs up to the sky, give them a little shake. Then take your right ankle onto your left thigh, so second side for thread the needle, holding on to the back of the left thigh if that's accessible. And if it isn't, there are a couple things you can do. One is a strap around the thigh. I also find a little prop underneath the bum can be really helpful if you're quite tight in the hips and or lower back. Maybe there's a little rocking side to side here. Maybe you're just being still. And then feel free to stay, or you can try this just different variation of a hip opener. So you're crossing your legs like you're sitting in a chair, cross-legged, but then you're letting the heels drop to either side. And then whatever's accessible for you to hold, you're just hugging it in. So you can hold the close knee, the far one. You can also hold the feet. Some people like it that way. And just seeing if that's an interesting stretch for you, if it works for you. Nice. And then gently release that. When you're ready, you can give your legs a little shake. And then take a rest. Again, feet can be on the floor, knees together or apart. Legs could be long. Just taking a moment to feel that. Okay. So we're going to come and lay on our right sides. And I know some of you have bolsters at home. I'm going to offer this with a bolster and a block or some other kind of prop. If you don't have a bolster, don't worry about it. I find it just enhances this a little bit. It becomes a little bit of a different experience. So if you have a bolster, it can go underneath your waist. And then you'll have your other prop, whatever you have. I'm actually going to do 2 blocks here underneath the head. So it's just some support. No, that's too high. Try that one. Just be picky about it. And again, if you don't have any props, don't worry. Just lay on your right side without the props. That's fine. Okay, knees roughly together. Natural curve in the lower back. Your right arm is extended forward. Bring the hands together. And then gently open the left arm up and open to the left. So if you have the bolster there, you've got a little more height to work with. This is going to be a little bit more of a shoulder stretch, and you're probably not going to be really touching the ground at all. That's okay. So you can just play here. If you don't have the props, you're probably going to be closer to just a relaxed twist on the ground. Either way, we're getting a little bit more of a shoulder stretch, okay? So if your arm is floating, just keep some life in the hands, don't collapse it, but enjoy the stretch, and you might play a little bit with where the arm is in space. So you can move up and down a little bit. You might be looking up or to the left. This should feel good. That's the idea. Again, wherever you are, as you're experimenting, if it's useful, maybe you could come back to that question, is this loving? Can I approach this in a more loving way? Beautiful. Return to your right side when you're ready, and then roll over to your left. Supporting your head if you have something under your waist. Knees together, nice natural curve in the lower back. Palms start together, and then gently open up the right arm. You can let your head just roll naturally with your spine. It's okay with me if the knees separate a little bit. You don't have to be too militant about that. But you could also have something between the knees if your lower back needs a bit more support. And again, if you're floating here, just kind of enjoying that, keeping some space and some life in the arm and the hands, maybe just moving it a little bit. And if you don't have the props, it's more like a passive twist where you're just laying in the twist and allowing the stretch to happen in its own way. And then when that feels complete for you, just gently return into laying on your left side and receive. Beautiful. Okay. So from here, I'd love for us to make our way to our hands and our knees. So feel free to, kind of go just gently, whatever way works for you. And then when you get to your hands and your knees, or knees and fists is fine, we'll take some catted cows. So inhaling into a little back bend, and exhaling to go under. Kind of similar to what we did at the very beginning, you can close your eyes here if you like. And just explore intuitively what kind of movement feels right for you right now. You can make circles, you can move side to side. And some of you may want to come into a downward facing dog. So if you'd like to try that, you can bring your hands a little farther forward, tuck the toes and lift your hips. You can pedal your heels out, bending one knee at a time. And then you can gently bring your knees back down if you've been up in your downward dog. And we're going to come into a lunge. I'm going to do this from kneeling. So you can just stand up on your knees and step your right foot forward. If that doesn't work for you, you want to transition a different way, that's fine. You might also find that you want a little prop underneath your left knee. So I've got my back toes tucked under here. And pretty long space between my legs, relatively speaking. I want to draw my tailbone down, square my hips, and I'm working my hips a little forward until I feel a nice stretch here on the front of the thigh. Okay. From here, I'll invite you to interlace your fingers, press your palms forward and then up. It's okay if your shoulders lift a little bit as long as it doesn't feel like, really tension. But we're kind of lifting the ribs. You could also imagine you could lift the ribs and chest without stretching the shoulders. If it feels good, you could add a side stretch to the right. So nice. And then let's come through center. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. And I'm going to offer a twist. There are a couple of different ways to do this. Option one, you can turn to the right. Have your right hand on your back and your left hand on your knee. Just working there. Option two, you can bend your elbow, bring it across your thigh. This is going to be a little more of a compressed twist. Depending on your back. You probably wouldn't want to do that if you're pregnant. Option 3, you can take that twist just wide, so the left hand is down, right arm's up. These are all great options for a twist, so just whichever one works for you is perfect. I'm going to try the one with the elbow across the thigh today. Okay, wherever you are, hug the shoulders onto the back. Get nice and long through the neck and the sides of the waist. And in any of these, you could choose to lift up your back knee. That's going to be a bit of a different experience. Okay, inhale. And then gently unwind from your twist and bring your hands down to either side of your front foot. You could definitely use blocks here if you like. Pick up your back knee if it's down and step it in a little bit so that you can take pyramid pose. So your back heel is at a little bit of an angle so that the foot can come comfortably down. You can have blocks under your hands if you like that. Legs are straightish. Okay, they don't have to be totally straight, and you certainly don't want to lock the knee. And draw your right hip back and your heart long. You can stay there. This is beautiful. You can fold. That's a bit of a different experience. You can also flow. So inhaling to lengthen and exhaling to melt. Wherever you are, breathe. And again, as you're choosing the different variations, you could ask yourself, is this loving? What's the most loving choice I could make for the body I have today? Let's take one more breath. Feel free to sigh if you like. And then when you're ready, you can gently make your way back to downward dog or to hands and knees, just whatever feels more accessible. Depending on where you're at, some of you might be feeling something like a vinyasa, some of you might be feeling cat and cow. I'll offer a little mini version of a vinyasa if you want to do that with me. You can come forward into plank pose on or off your knees. And just pause there for a moment. And then lower all the way down. You're welcome to use your knees. And then take your favorite version of a cobra right now. So I'm going to take the one where I have cactus arms. I'm pointing the toes. And I'm pressing into my hands just lightly. My elbows lift. I'm taking this nice long cobra. Couple breaths there, it doesn't have to be too fast. And then gently releasing down and returning to hands and knees. And then kneeling. And then left leg forward for lunge. So I've got some padding under my right knee. My back toes are tucked under. I want to draw my tailbone down and press the hips forward, but just so that my knee stays right over my ankle. It's not going beyond. We get nice and long through the sides of the waist. If you like, you can interlace your fingers, press the palms forward and up. And I've just got my other thumb on top, so it just feels a little bit funny. And again, lengthening kind of from here, like from the waist and the back ribs. Pressing the floor away with your back leg. It might help to squeeze the right thumb a little. And you could add that little bit of a side stretch that feels good today, which it's one of my favorite things, side bend in a lunge. I hope you guys like it too. I thought it feels just so delicious. Okay, come up through center, gently release your hands to your heart, and then choose your variation of twist. So probably the same one you did on the first side. So again, we can turn just using the hands here. We can take the elbow across. You can have the hand on the ground reaching up. For pregnancy, either the first or the last option are great, just not so much this compressed one. Okay, hugging the shoulders down the back, getting nice and long through the sides of the waist. Maybe picking up your back knee if you did on the first side. Try to breathe as deeply and evenly as you can. Awesome. Inhale and then gently unwind. And we're coming into pyramid. So you can pick up your back knee and step your foot in a little bit. You're going to land the heel completely on the ground. And then draw your heart forward and your left hip back. And that is a wonderful place for hamstring lengthening. That's pretty easy on the lower back. As you fold, you're going to add the lower back a little bit, which if that feels good, that's great. If it doesn't feel safe, come back up. And if you like flowing, as I almost always do, 99% of the time, you can flow with me, rising as you inhale and holding down as you exhale. Just keep drawing that left hip back, be active. One more breath. Nice, you guys. And then gently release out of it. I'm stepping back to downward dog. You could do hands and knees as well. And then we can take that same slow vinyasa if you want to do that with me. You can also do cat and cow. Okay, coming forward to a plank, maybe pausing. Lower down, try to keep your shoulders on your back as you lower down. You can use the knees for sure. And then taking cobra. So again, I'm taking the cactus arms one. There's also one with the hands by the ribs. There's strange cobra. There's lots of options. Just gently rising up. And then release down and let's meet in child's pose. Bringing the toes together, hips back. Arms can reach out in front of you or they can rest by your sides as you like. And just let this feel good. Hey, if child's pose doesn't feel good, if it's just not your one right now, feel free to lay on your side or on your belly, just wherever you kind of feel nice and soft and supported where you can rest a little. From here, just staying a little bit longer. And if you like, you can try just rocking your hips a little bit from side to side. If that works for you, that's great. If it doesn't work for you, skip it. And then bringing your hips through center. If you've been rocking, and gently roll up to your seat. Swing your legs out from under you so that you're just on your bum. Release your legs in front of you, give them a little shake. And then have a seat on your little piece of support. So I'm going to offer a forward fold here. Nice for the hamstrings and the back. But if this one doesn't work for you, so if you've got osteoporosis, if you've got some herniated disc in the lower back, you know you shouldn't be folding forward. Legs up the wall is actually a really nice alternative to this one. Okay? Otherwise, legs are out in front of you, just sitting on something. I'm just doing classic hips distance apart here. You could do feet together, you could do wider. Just see what works for you. Fingertips beside you, drawing your belly gently in, sitting up nice and tall. Don't be afraid to bend the knees as you tip forward from the hips. Walk the hands along the legs, think heart forward, long spine, and then you might relax the head at some point. We'll take a few breaths here just to kind of let everything soften into this shape, which many people have a calming association with forward folds, not everybody. And if that's there for you, just really breathe into it. Receive it. When you're ready, gently roll up. If you're finding this nourishing, it's totally fine to stay longer. And then we're going to lay down on our backs. So you can shift off your prop and roll down, or you can come to your side and lay down that way, especially if you're pregnant, just come to your side first. Okay, and then take your feet about as wide as your mat. Knees bent, and then take your knees off to the right. So this is another form of a twist, a little bit different, a little more hip flexor focused. Okay, you can stay here or take your right foot, that's your bottom foot, onto your left thigh and just add to it a little bit. Okay, you can do this relatively passively. I quite like doing it by squeezing my left bum a little bit and kind of lengthening my left thigh out away from my hips. It just adds that nice stretch for me in the hip flexor quad region and kind of into my belly. You can open your arms up and look away from your knees to the left. Breathe into the belly. And then gently release, come up through center and over to the second side. So feet are still max distance. Knees come over to the left. Arms are open. You can look to the right. You might take your left ankle to your right thigh, or you might leave it. You can also squeeze your right thumb and lengthen the knee away from your body, like towards the bottom of your mat, and see if that feels good. And then gently back through center. You can rock your knees side to side a couple times. And then draw the legs in, give yourself a little hug. You can take happy baby here, taking the soles of the feet to the sky, knees open wide, and rocking a little bit if that feels nice on your back. And let's prepare for Shavasana. So I'm just releasing my legs, giving them a little shake. And then I'm just going to flop out. Okay. If you have anything left that you need to complete your practice before you can rest in Shavasana, please feel free to do that. If you're more comfortable in Shavasana, for example, with the bolster underneath your knees, that can be really nice. Bolster behind the spine can be really nice. Legs up the wall is a beautiful option. So just wherever you feel most comfortable. If you're pregnant and uncomfortable laying on your back, you can definitely prop up your back a little bit. You can lay on your side. Whatever works for you is fine. Just a place where you can rest and receive. Is this loving? That question is resonating for you. Perhaps you could take a moment to ask your body if there's anything that you could do that would be loving for your body today. And if you'd like to stay in your Shavasana longer, you're welcome to do that. If you're feeling ready to move out of it, you can begin to gently increase your breath, move your body intuitively, stretch out. Curl your knees in and roll over to one side. And then make your way up to a comfortable seat with your hands together at your heart or over top, whatever feels right for you. Gently bowing your mind to your hands, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge whatever it took for you to get here to your practice today. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. Honoring and acknowledging the sacredness of the land we practice on, wherever that may be in the world. Thank you for sharing that practice with me today.